Okay, so today I'm going to show 4 different ways of using pigment powders without gel polish. Although gel polish does seem to give the best, smoothest finish from what I can see, I don't use gel and I don't really plan to. So these are 4 methods that you can use without gel polish. Okay, so first I'm going to start with this Lantern and Wren Glow, and it's a holographic pigment. Okay, and this is just a sample, so that's why there's so little in here. And it comes with a little eyeshadow applicator, which is what I'm going to use. And this is the stamper that I have started using for all of my pigment powders because it's a little bit frosted now, if you can tell, from using the pigments on it. So because I don't want to do that to another clear stamper, this is the one I'm using, and it's a clear jelly stamper Big Bling. So I actually like this little end, and that's what I'm gonna try using here. So the first method is just putting on the powder onto the stamper head in a nice smooth and it really doesn't take as much as you would think to get a nice application. And I take it back. This little thing takes forever to do because it's so tiny, but so maybe the other end is bigger or better. The bigger end is better. Anyway, so almost done here. And as you can tell on my nails, I have applied base coat and 1 coat of black. And then on my middle finger, which is the one that I'm going to apply this to, I have added a coat of Orly Bonder. And I did that right before I started videoing so that it had a few minutes to dry. And so now I am just going to take the stamper and stamp that on there. Okay, and as you can see, that already has a really nice finish to it, but I'm gonna finish that up by taking this sponge and adding a little bit more and smoothing that on lightly, just making sure that there's good coverage and that you're buffing that for a nice smooth finish. Okay, so that's method 1, and you can see this is a really, really nice powder here and great finish. So for this, if you were gonna wear it plain, I would recommend using a water-based top coat like the Peel Off base coat or the Sophii water-based. There are a bunch of different water-based top coats out there available these days. Anything that says no smudge, like for the stamping ones, will be water-based and will work over pigment powders. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to show is pigment stamping. So similar to what I did with the full nail, I'm just taking the leftover of what I did before and applying the pigment again. Okay, so once that's prepped, put that aside, and I'm going to be using the Moyou London Festive Collection 05 and using this fireworks image. So now I'm just going to take a regular black stamping polish. You can use any one you want, but just black because that's what my base is, so any mistakes in stamping won't be visible, and then because that helps make the hollow pop. But if you were using other pigments, you could use really whatever you wanted. Now the only thing that I've done here is, so for these two nails, I prepped it with a matte top coat instead of the Orly Bonder, because once I do the stamping, I want to make sure the rest of the pigment doesn't stick to the rest of the base, and the matte helps with that. Okay, so I'm going to stamp as usual. Okay. Okay, and scrape. Right. Then I'm going to stamp with my prepared. Okay, and then I'm going to apply that on the nail. Okay. Okay, and there you go. Now I'm going to give that a little bit to dry, and then you'll see me brush that off with just a soft little brush, and you can really use whatever you want. I like these sort of bigger brushes instead of a fan brush, but really you can use whatever feels most comfortable to you. And just want to lightly brush that, and any parts that don't have the stamping polish to it should just come out right off, because there's nothing sticking to it, and the matte helps it just slide right off. So that's 2 nails done. Okay. All right, so the third method is using something like the Moyou foil stamping polish. Okay, and I know that there are other companies that are developing something like this, but right now Moyou is the only one that I know of that has a specially formulated stamping polish for things like pigments and foils. So you want to make sure you shake up this bottle really well before you stamp. But for this, you're just going to stamp as usual. And I'm going to use the same image from Moyou London Festive Collection 05. And I'm going to be doing this on my pinky, so I'm just going to use this little bit of the image here. Okay, and pick up using my cleaned stamper, using a lint roller. Then I'm just going to stamp that on that matte nail, and hopefully you can see that. Okay, and that's a really cool sort of matte and black look. So now I'm going to take that same pigment and lightly brush over the foil stamping polish. And again, the foil stamping polish is supposed to give you more time. You could possibly do this with regular stamping polish if you are quick enough, but I think your results will be a little variable, and using something like the foil stamping polish definitely gives you more certain results, if that makes sense, since it's formulated to give you that extra time. So Same as for the pigment stamping. Once that's dry, you should be able to lightly brush that, and the excess comes off, and you're just left with the hollow on the foil stamping polish. Okay. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to show is using pigments with nail vinyls, and I'm going to be using this star image here, and I'm using it from a assorted pack from the Born Pretty store, item 39779-2. And I have prepped my nails with Orly Bonder over the black, and I'm not positive that that step is necessary, but I want to make sure that the pigment parts stick. So I prefer using the bonder just to be sure. Okay, you want to make sure that this is lying down and there's no ridges. I try not to use the edges because of the curvature so that I can get a clean stick. So, okay, it's the same thing that I've shown before. I'm just going to take a little bit of the pigment and just pat that on. Making sure it's even, but I am pretty sure that that's going to be big enough for my index, so I'm going to peel that off and set that aside. Make sure it's a clean, and then I'm going to stamp that on my nail. Actually, I think I'm going to do my thumb because it's big enough for my thumb. And there you go. Now, to clean it off, I just use a lint roller, and you might have to do it a few times, but most pigments will come off pretty cleanly, especially the hollow ones. If you have trouble with that, you can use a wet wipe, which is a trick that I learned from my friend Leonie, who has a great YouTube channel as well. So now I'm going to reuse this. You actually get a cleaner finish if you don't reuse it, but if you only reuse it once or twice, it's not too bad. But just because I don't like to waste these, and then I'll throw it away after this one. But okay. Then, yeah, it's not quite as clean as before, but it's good enough. Okay. All right. And there you go. And as you can see, even though this was a really small sample of this hollow powder, it was enough to do all. I mean, I don't know if you wanted to do full nail on all of them, I think it would have been enough, just barely. But again, this was just a sample from Lantern and Wren, and if you purchased it in regular size, I'm sure you would get a lot more than this. So anyway, thanks for watching.